The house that breathes in the dark. The night Hung decided to enter Trầm Sơn forest. The sky seemed to be suffocated by something. No moon, no stars, only thick darkness, like a curtain covering all life. Hung stood in front of the trail, hesitated for a moment, then turned on the camera. If I don't come back here today, I will probably be haunted forever by curiosity. But he didn't know. The thing waiting for him in the darkness had also been waiting for this return for a long time. Trầm Sơn Forest, a place without the sound of the night. The deeper he went, the stranger the atmosphere became. The tree trunks on both sides of the trail looked like human shadows, covered in a thin layer of fog, silently watching Hung's every step. The night forest often had the sound of birds and wind, but Trầm Sơn was absolutely silent. The sound of falling leaves could be heard clearly.
The house, the moving corpse. When the mist parted, the wooden house appeared like a strange creature hiding itself. The roof was curved, like the old woman's hunched back, about to die. The windows were black, like empty eye sockets. The wooden walls were cracked like open wounds. The house was not silent. It shook slightly, as if it was inhaling. A thin, drawn-out sigh. Heish. There was no wind, but the door opened by itself. Slowly, very slowly. Creak, creak, groan. The sound was like someone chained for a long time, trying to get up. Hung was no longer the one entering the house. He felt like he was being swallowed by the darkness inside. Inside, where the light is swallowed, Hung's footsteps touched the rotten wooden floor, emitting a sound as thin as broken bones. He shone the flashlight around. The light just touched the wall and dimmed, as if someone had extinguished it. There was a warm, fishy smell in the air, like the smell of dried blood that had been left for a long time. Crack, crack, crack. Hung turned his head. Nothing. But the dragging sound shifted to another direction, as if it was moving around him. Then a cold breath pressed against the back of his neck. Very close. A woman's voice whispered, as if from a strangled throat. You came back, finally, you're back. Hung was stunned. His blood seemed to stop flowing. He turned around. No one was there, but he saw traces of white breath floating in the air, right where the voice had come from.
The long-haired girl, the one who will never leave here. Hung's camera suddenly zoomed in, shaking violently. Hung looked at the screen. In the left corner of the room, where the flashlight couldn't reach, there was a figure standing. A girl. She wore a wet white dress, covered in mud. Long hair covered her face. Her body trembled, as if she was cold, or afraid of something behind her. She turned her back to Hung. Slim shoulders trembled with each beat. He didn't know why, but Hung had the feeling. She wasn't threatening him. It was like she was warning him. He turned the flashlight on. The shadow disappeared, not naturally, but as if she was pulled down to the floor by an invisible hand. So fast that his eyes couldn't keep up. Immediately, the smell of the air changed. The musty smell turned into the smell of a lingering corpse, mixed with the strong smell of metal. A broken whisper echoed in the darkness. "Don't leave me behind anymore." It was no longer a plea. It was the voice of a soul trying to cling to the last thing left. The house, what waited for him to return. Hung rushed to the door. His foot tripped on the rotten threshold, almost falling onto the porch. But as soon as he stepped onto the ground, a loud inhale sounded from behind him, as if someone was trying to catch their breath after years of despair. Hung turned around. The house was heaving. The wooden wall protruded and retracted like the chest of a creature. The door gap opened like a mouth. Its breathing was heavy, drawn out like the breathing of someone about to die but still trying to cling to life. Hung took a step back, his heart pounding. In that moment, he understood one thing. The house was not just haunted, it was alive, and it wanted him to come back forever. That night was just the beginning. Behind the house's breath was the secret of the long-haired girl's death. And for some reason, she thought Hung was the one who had abandoned her.
Part 2. The Truth in the Whispers. After escaping the house, Hung ran through the forest without looking back. But the more he ran, the more he felt someone was following him. He didn't hear any footsteps, but he felt a slender shadow following behind him, following his every breath. Only when he was out of the forest did Hung dare to stop. The flashlight had long since turned off, and the camera was red, indicating low battery. But even when standing in the open space, he could still hear a very small whisper, "Don't leave me." Mixed in the sound of the wind, Hung held the camera tightly, trying to reassure himself that it was just an illusion. He tried to explain it with reason, tiredness, fear, paranoia. But deep in his head, an uneasiness kept growing. Hidden profile, the girl in the wooden house. Back in his rented room, Hung opened his laptop and watched the footage from inside the abandoned house. As he scrolled through the timeline, suddenly a frame appeared that made his skin crawl. Behind Hung, right when he turned to the door to run away, a pale white hand was placed on the doorframe. A woman's hand, skinny, purple fingers. But what made Hung suffocate even more was what appeared in another frame. When he turned the light to the dark corner where the girl stood, the camera, though shaky, captured a faint line of text on the wooden wall behind. "I am still here." Hung zoomed in, right below the text. There were scratches as if someone had scratched it with their fingernails until it bled. Hung's heart pounded. Who was that girl? He started looking for information about the house and found an old newspaper article from 13 years ago. The headline read, "20-year-old girl missing in Trầm Sơn forest, murder suspected." The article had a picture of a girl named Vi, long hair, sad eyes, just like yesterday's silhouette. Hung felt a chill down his spine. The newspaper said that Vi had lived in a wooden house in the forest with her foster father, a crazy man that the villagers were very afraid of. One night, Vi disappeared. No one found her body, no clues. But the police had said that inside the house there were signs of a struggle, and there were very deep scratches on the walls. Hung looked back at the scratches in his video, exactly the same. A cold feeling ran down his spine. Vi had never left that house. The whisperings return. That night, while Hung was in the process of editing the video to post. He suddenly heard in his headphones, "Can you come back to me?" Hung stood up abruptly. The headphones had been removed from the machine before. The whispering came from the corner of the room, completely dark. Hung sat close to the wall, shivering. He clearly felt a cold breath on the back of his neck, just like when he was in the house. Then very light footsteps echoed on the floor. Clack, 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 as if someone was walking barefoot from the corner of the room towards him. Hung reached out to turn on the light. No one was there, but the window was wide open, even though he clearly remembered closing it. The curtains fluttered gently in the wind, and in that breath of wind, he heard, "Don't go, stay with me." That voice wasn't resentful, but full of despair, like someone locked in the darkness for too long, just needed someone to stay so they wouldn't disappear. The invitation to return to the home. Hung decided to return to Trầm Sơn Forest, not out of curiosity anymore, but because of one single question. What does Vi want him to do? When he entered the trail, the atmosphere became as thick as before, but this time he no longer felt like he was being watched, but rather lead. Vague whispers echoed from between the trees. "This way, I'm here, don't be afraid." And then the wooden house appeared, this time not hidden anymore, but as if waiting for him. The door was already open, no wind, no creaking, just opening, as if welcoming. Hung swallowed, stepped in. In the darkness, a female voice rang out for the first time clearly, not a whisper. "Thank you for coming back." Hung froze in place, and from deep within the darkness, a figure stepped out. This time it did not disappear. The girl in white, long black hair hung down over her face. Feet did not touch the ground. Her body trembled slightly, as if in pain, but what made Hung freeze were her eyes, two deep black eye sockets, as if hollowed out, but inside was a suffocatingly sad look. She raised her hand, pointed at the wall. On the wooden surface appeared each word as if it had just been carved with fingernails. "I was killed. Don't leave. I need you to see the truth." Hung stepped back. The girl didn't follow, but her empty eyes were getting wet, as if she were crying. The smell of blood filled the room again, and as Hung trembled and looked down at the floor, a long trail of blood began to spread from under the bed, creeping closer to his feet, as if on purpose. The whispers this time were no longer pleading. They were heavy, painful, and full of resentment. "See the truth." The air in the house heaved. The house breathed again, but this time, as if angry. Hung knew if he didn't find the truth behind Vi's death, he would never be able to leave this house again. Part 3. The last night in the house that breathes. The air in the house began to move. The wood of the walls heaved like a chest. Each breath that came from the house was like the sound of metal screeching against each other, heavy, angry, and filled with years of suppressed pain. Hung took a few steps back, but the wooden floor beneath his feet shook, as if a hand was pressing him to stay still. The girl, Vi, was still standing there, not moving forward, not disappearing, just looking at Hung with her hollow black eyes that were leaking to lines of dark liquid, like dried blood. Her voice rang out for the first time, as clear as if someone was standing right in front of her. "You must see my last night." Immediately, the door behind Hung slammed shut. The flashlight on his chest went out. The whole house was plunged into such darkness that Hung felt like he was standing in the mouth of a monster. Then all around, the wooden walls began to groan, rock, crack, the sound of human bones breaking. The house that brings Hung back to the past. Hung felt the room spin slightly, not in a dizzying way, but as if the ground was being pulled into another space. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself standing in the same house, but it was fully lit, clean, signs of life. No smell of blood, no darkness. Sounds from the kitchen. Hung walked over and saw Vi, not a ghost, but Vi in the flesh. A young girl wearing an old t-shirt was washing dishes in a basin of cold water. Her hair was brighter now, her skin was whiter, her eyes were soulful, but still tinged with sadness. Hung gasped. He understood. The house was showing him the past. Vi couldn't see him. She was singing softly, a sad melody. At that moment, the door opened loudly. A man walked in tall with bloodshot eyes, his breath smelling of alcohol. It was Mr. Lamb, Vi's adoptive father. Vi was startled and stepped back. He grabbed her hand tightly, yanking the bowl and chopsticks to the floor. "Are you going to leave me?" Vi shook her head, tears falling to the floor. Her voice trembled. "I didn't leave. I just wanted to get out of the forest for a bit." Mr. Lamb slapped her, drowning out the sound of the wind outside. Vi fell to the floor, sobbing. Hung clenched his fists. He wanted to rush in and intervene, but his body just passed through the air. He was just a witness, helpless. Mr. Lamb dragged Vi into the dark room, the room where Hung had seen the scratches earlier. The door slammed shut. Inside, there were screams, pleas, and struggles, and then silence. Hung facing the truth. The air moved, the scene blurred. Hung found himself standing in the middle of a dark room, like the beginning. Vi stood opposite him, this time as a ghost. Her face was purple. Her neck had a long bruise like a strangling handprint. Her two hands were bleeding, as if she had scratched the wood until the skin was torn. She raised her hand, pointing to the wall, where Hung had first seen the scratches in the video. But this time, the scratches formed a shape. "Save me," Hung choked. "Vi, your foster father, was the one who killed you." Vi nodded, but her shoulders trembled as if she was afraid of something else. She whispered, "He's still here." Hung turned round quickly. In the darkness, there was the sound of heavy footsteps. A shadow flickered. A figure identical to the drunk man from earlier. But something was wrong. Very wrong. The shadow didn't walk, but crawled, as if the body was broken into many pieces. The sound of bones colliding with each other was heard. Hung shouted, "Mr. Lamb, you're dead." The shadow let out a hoarse laugh, the laugh of someone who was no longer human. "I'm dead, but this house is keeping me. Me and it belong together." It rushed towards Hung with an unimaginable speed, the house that knows how to breathe. Vi rushed forward, blocking Hung's way. When the shadow touched Vi, it was bounced back, as if it had collided with an invisible force. Vi screamed for the first time, her voice filled with pain. "Get out of here! Don't touch him!" The house began to shake violently. Every door, every board, every wall was shaking like a dying body. Hung felt like the house was crying. The smell of blood, the smell of damp earth, the smell of rotting, mixed with the groaning of wood. The black shadow screamed, "No one gets out of this place. It all belongs to me." It rushed at Vi, strangling her neck. Vi squeezed Hung's hand, whispering, "Go away. Don't let me die again." The whole house exploded with screams, like hundreds of souls crying at the same time. Hung was pushed out the door. That invisible force was not Mr. Lamb's, but Vi's own. The door slammed shut. At that moment, the house let out its last breath, long, heavy, and so mournful that it made the entire fog shiver. Then silence, completely. Dawn is not for the dead. Hung stood in front of the house, panting. The sky gradually brightened. The first rays of sunlight filtered through the trees, and as soon as the light touched the house, the entire house began to fall apart, piece by piece, as if it only existed because of the breath of Vi's soul. In less than a minute, the house turned into a pile of rotting wood. No sign of life, no sign of a soul either. Hung knelt down, watching the last piece of wood fall to the ground. A sentence echoed in the wind, as light as a last breath. "Thank you." Hung bowed his head. He knew Vi had been freed, but as he turned to leave, the camera on his chest suddenly turned on. On the screen, a faint line of text appeared. "Not from this world. I will follow you until you stop being afraid of the dark." Hung was stunned. The wind from the forest blew